Uh, for years, many on the left have labeled ICE, Immigration's Custom Enforcement, we've labeled it as a fascistic police force, the fascistic police arm of the federal government. And for many years, we have been labeled as being hysterical or being crazy leftists. Like they've labeled us everything they could possibly think of, because they did not. When I say they, centrists as well as conservatives, anyone who doesn't see as clear-eyed as we on the left have been saying. I mean, we've been seeing it, and we've been saying it, that ICE is a fascist organization. As it came out yesterday that that the ICE agents in Georgia at the detention center in Georgia had been performing forced sterilizations, forced hysterectomies on women, detainees. And it also came out yesterday that that in a sexual assault case dealing with ICE agents, the ICE agents deported one of the key witnesses. I think it's time that people might start wanting to listen to those of us who you have labeled as hysterical. I think it's a rejection. I'm going to get into the details of these stories, but I just want to preface the entire conversation this way. Because there is an assumption in this country that America is noble and that America is better than this, and that these type of things can't happen in America because we're civilized. And being on the left, and it's not because we're on the quote unquote left, because there's nothing special about being on the left except for what we fight for. And when you fight for marginalized communities, you see the sobering reality of what America really is. America is not this city sitting on a hill, this shining city sitting on a hill. It's none of that. It's not this noble experiment. It's not this brave, patriotic band of patriots that are going across the globe trying to spread democracy. America is not that. When you fight on behalf of marginalized people, you see the rancid underbelly of what America really is. And ICE, Immigration, Custom and Enforcement, they are the fascistic arm of this government. And they are carrying out their fascism. And the target of this fascism are immigrants. That said, I want to play a clip of the whistleblower, this sister, Dawn Wooten. She is the one who filed the report, and she filed the report saying that there are human rights violations that are happening in the detention centers down in Georgia, and that they were forcing hysterectomies, forced sterilizations on women who had no idea why they were having these procedures done. I want you to hear from her as she describes how confused these women were and how she described the nickname that they gave the doctor who was, quote unquote, the ovary collector. Take a listen.
You have detained women. I had several detained women on numerous occasions that would come to me and say, Miss Wooten, I had a hysterectomy. Why? I had no answers as to why they had those procedures. And one lady walked up to me here this last time around between October of 19 until July the 2nd. And she said, what is he? Is he the uterus collector? Does he collect uteruses? And I asked her, what does she mean? And she says, everybody that I talk to has had a hysterectomy. And you just don't know what to say. I mean, I don't have a answer for why that they would come to me and they would say, is he the uterus collector?
My apologies. I stated it incorrectly. It's the uterus collector. And this was verified. Now, I want to be sure. I take her at her word. Anybody who's going to put their life on the line like this, put their career on the line like this, and who's fighting on behalf of marginalized people, I take her at her word. But this has been verified by multiple news organizations, including NBC, MSNBC. They have done their own verification. They have spoken to the attorneys of several victims of this, of people who had forced hysterectomies. And in some cases, they had no idea that's what was happening when they went in to get a procedure. I want to put a headline up on your screen from the Washington Post. Nancy Pelosi demands a probe after ICE nurse raises alarm over medical care hysterectomies at detention center. And this is what they're reporting. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and other Democrats demanded an investigation on Tuesday into claims by a nurse in an Immigration and Customs Enforcement detention center in Georgia that detainees there have been denied basic medical care and possibly subjected to hysterectomies without their informed consent. If true, the appalling conditions described in the whistleblower complaint, including allegations of mass hysterectomies being performed on vulnerable immigrant women, are a staggering abuse of human rights, Pelosi said in a statement. The DHS Inspector General must immediately investigate the allegations detailed in this complaint. ICE officials on Tuesday promised to cooperate with an investigation, but denied that widespread hysterectomies were performed at Irwin. According to ICE, just 2 such procedures have been performed on detainees there since 2018. I'm sorry, too many. But of course, they are going to deny this. They're going to continue to deny it until we actually have an investigation that exposes it. I mean, what do we expect? ICE to just come out and say, yeah, you caught us red-handed. No, of course they're going to deny, and deflect. But we have seen the behavior patterns of ICE over the years. We have seen them, how they behave, how they do these detainees, how they deport them. And actually, I'm so far from done. I got to cover one more aspect of this to give you more insight into how the thinking of these fascists really goes. According to the Texas Tribune, ICE deported a key witness in investigation of sexual assault and harassment at El Paso Detention Center. And I want to read you directly from this reporting. The U.S. government late Monday deported a crucial witness in an ongoing investigation into allegations of sexual assault and harassment at an El Paso immigrant detention center, the witness's lawyer said. The 35-year-old woman has been held in the facility, which is overseen by Immigration and Customs Enforcement, for about a year and told lawyers about a, quote, pattern and practice of abuse there, including that guards systematically assaulted her and other detainees in areas that were not visible to security cameras. Several guards forcibly kissed her, and at least one touched her intimate parts. Often as she was walking back from the medical unit into her barrack, according to her complaint filed by law enforcement agencies. This is who they are. This is what they do. And this is not fear-mongering. This is not being hysterical. This is not hyperbole. This is none of the many things that we're labeled when we bring attention to what we see with clear eyes. People have been identifying ICE as a fascist organization for years, particularly people on the left. And the left doesn't have anything, that the left is just a title. It is a collection of people who have dedicated their entire political existence to fighting on behalf of marginalized people. And when you fight on behalf of marginalized people, the homeless, the immigrant, the LGBTQ community, the trans community, when you fight on behalf of people who are impoverished, you see the rancid underbelly of what America really is. And you see how people in power brutalize people subjected to their power. And oftentimes that brutalization comes in the form of sexual assault. And in this case, it came in the form of eugenics and sexual assault. This is what people do. When people have power, and they have power over a segment that has been dehumanized by both the president of the United States as well as the federal government across administrations, you can guarantee that this type of behavior will occur if we are not vigilant in our fight against them. But instead, people have been calling us hysterical. I want to pull up a tweet on your screen from someone on Twitter who said it perfectly. At Toxic Left Watch. The handle is obviously sarcasm, but this is what he said on Twitter, or they said. I don't know how they identify it. They say, well, if it isn't the toxic left being correct once again, that ICE is a fascist organization of state power, despite yellow belly pod save liberals insisting it was somehow not for years. And this is a specific reference to the most popular podcast in the world, Pod Save America, which is a liberal podcast who attacked us relentlessly over the last 4 years as we called for ICE to be abolished. Well, maybe you should have listened to us on the left instead of listening to your latte liberals. We'll be back right after this.